Hey everyone, it's New Year's Eve, and tonight I want to share a little bit about this 40 plus year long process I've been going through of falling in and out of love. The Armin van Buuren's State of Trance. All right. Well, I only wish I could sing as good as these guys, right? This is what we're listening to. Armin van Buuren, State of Trance, 2008. This is also going to be an important part of my story a little later on. So I'm going to shut her down right there before we get too carried away, okay? Anyways, I've been sharing a story about how I found a connection or something, like going to a visionary state and being introduced to a little boy named Billy, and later on trying to make the connection with Billy in Frontline Assembly. So I thought that was a fun track because being New Year's Eve, I really love the numerology. It is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. When we write it, with slashes, So anyways, it could be a good, powerful, magical day to make wishes and put positive vibes out there. So, talking about what's been going on, there's been some fun parts and some rough parts. I kind of want to talk a little bit about the fun part of it, maybe the kind of the emotional aspect of it, how so I'm kind of going to go over a little bit. So I've been working on a playlist called the JodyVision, where I share much of the story about having gone to the visionary state and having an imaginary friend growing up, but then finding the real person. And so I've only told a portion of the story, to the part where I reached 18. Then I started to remember it, and then from there I want to come back to that. So it's just been kind of like a stopping point for me, because I think 30 years ago was 1993. And I feel like that's where a lot of things were coming together, as far as like me kind of realizing who I am or finding my identity. I feel like that hasn't really changed a whole lot, but I've been focused on martial arts and not doing music, and I'm kind of trying to get myself ready for the next year, not like just like the second we flip the calendar, but somewhere in the middle of next year, hopefully I will figure out where I'm going to be living and then start to organize my own project. But anyways, it feels like being an artist, I feel like as an artist soul, I've had sort of a weird or magical life, and some of the things I described, particularly this visionary state thing, might be helpful to me for the sake of creativity. And if we're going into an end time sort of thing or whatever, like, maybe even in just my own personal scenario, dealing with an emergency situation, my psychic awareness should be there for me. That's what I'm really hoping on. And so this is where I'm kind of being challenged with this whole scenario. So I've been taking the time to just break it down. And so I feel like this is testing me emotionally, because this is where I'm sure it's a big question for a lot of people, is how do you really know that you love somebody? So this is like stuff beyond science. The only way we could look at love scientifically is like as an organism. Maybe when we reproduce and we have family, you kind of love each other in a survival way. And you see animals, they kind of group together and they have love between each other, and that's how they defend each other. But, you know, it's kind of weird when you meet somebody and you don't really know them, but you feel like you love that person just as much as your whole family. And sometimes, no, one of my favorite books would be The Celestine Prophecy, and he talks about that. Sometimes you meet people and you feel a really significant connection with them because of what's gonna happen later. So that's just it. And that's where, you know, I look at, you know, does pet are we reincarnating? Are there past life connections? You know. So why is this happening? Because, like, okay, so I talk about when I first moved to Florida, I was in visionary state at the age of 6, so early in '82. So that's why I say a little over 40 years ago. In the visionary state, Bill Lee was like a couple years older than me, so he's like 8 years older. And they called him Billy, and he was staying with Rosie and Howard. So this is in the visionary state, and then later in reality, you know, I met each of them, but like with Rosie, it seemed to be a good. It was easy to make friends with her and then become close friends with Bill Lee. It has been difficult to make friends and be good friends, but there's always been a lot more emphasis on remembering who Bill is, or Billy was. So there's a lot of things along the way to plant those seeds of memory. And so, you know, before we moved to the Florida Keys, we were living in Port Huron, Michigan, and that's where, you know, my mom was singing in a band, and my dad's always been interested in music, and they were close to Detroit and stuff, so he's been around the music scene and stuff. And so I think if we would have stayed in Michigan, you know, we would have all had a way to get in the music business, or at least be doing something with music, you know. Getting in music businesses and everything, but just being, you know, involved in music is. But anyways, but moving to the Florida Keys, I felt like we left all that behind. So like within that first year there, so I knew I wanted to make music, because I you know, saw what it was like to see a band play and work together, and the stuff I liked when I was a kid. So I know by the time I moved to Key West, some of my favorite bands were like, you know, industrial and electronic stuff. Like I always liked Kraftwerk, and I remember listening to Nag 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 by Cabaret Voltaire when I was like, you know, 5. This is what I want to do, you know. This is the kind of music I wish I could make. So my role models were kind of making this type of off-kilter music. And so by the time I get to Key West, you know, I think down there, you know, my dad started listening to New Order, so I kind of remember Everything's Gone Green and stuff like that, Ultravox. So I like the, you know, like kind of the more, I don't know what you call that, the kind of like New Order and Ultravox, where it's kind of like hybrid rock and roll and stuff. And then Tangerine Dream, you know, like the album Exit, you know, Kristen Cozy, SPK. That was all the stuff I liked when I was a little kid. So meeting this little boy named Billy, he was telling me stuff like, you know, someday we're going to be married and playing in a band together, and it's going to be the type of music that my dad listens to. So I never really met anybody else that knew about my dad's music growing up. And so that's like one of those little things that made Billy memorable. For one thing, is living in the Florida Keys, I felt like we're really isolated from the rest of the world. But my dad still managed to stay intact with the music, and kept bringing home good music. And so, the thing that makes Billy so memorable was how, like, he seemed really happy to see me, and he seemed like he really loved me. And then, and also, like, so if you watch my videos, I described the whole, you know, story, and, like, one of the things I remembered was he also, pushed me to fight. We got in a fight. I kind of think one of the reasons for that is because, I ended up finding another boyfriend. So I had a boyfriend named David, and I don't know if Billy found out about that or not, but it seemed like, you know, I wasn't supposed to see him again for a long time. Like we went over there one day, and Rosie said, I'm not going to see him for a long time. We're going to be much older by then. And I was kind of bummed out, because I was never really sure I'd see him again. So that's probably why I had other boyfriends, you know, so I didn't take it that seriously. But I always remembered him as kind of like my first boyfriend after I moved to the Florida Keys. And so in ways, it's like, it always seemed like my idea of who should be my boyfriend, you know. And then I kind of remember my sister and my dad teasing me a little bit, like, what happened to your boyfriend and all this stuff. That's why I thought my parents knew who that was, you know, so it was so lifelike and real. I kind of thought, and I never thought for a moment that there was anything imaginary about this person. So now, I kind of remember. I guess like my little joke is that he's not only the man of my dreams, but the man of my visions, right? So I've never had anyone like this come into my visions so much, or even my dreams. So like later on, I think I've had a lot of really like cool dreams and stuff to talk about. But like that's why I did a video earlier, like artist dreams. Like there's like a difference just between like having dreams, much of which are usually just your own imagination. But going into visionary state, like it was mostly Bill Lee. There's a little bit of other stuff brought up along the way, so that's where, you know, it's kind of fun to see. See, I've never really written this stuff down. Like, I've tried to write letters to Bill, so he's the only person that has anything in writing. Otherwise, it's like all from memory here, so it's kind of fun to reflect on how he fits into my childhood, you know, like. So, let me see. Like, after we had that fist fight, I think I bumped into him one more time. And that's where, you know, like, so here's the thing is Billy, like, you know, on more than one occasion, it was like, don't forget who I am or you may never see me again. And that's why he was upset, you know. So, like with Rosie, I think she's seen flashes of her future. You know, I mentioned in another video, she'd seen her husband before she met him. But with Bill, it's more like, I've never really seen the future. Like, I've never really seen it happen. But it's more like just a conversation where they're saying, someday you'll be married and playing in a band someday. Well, then we got in that little fist fight there. And what sparked it was I was mad at Billy for being kind of bossy to me, saying something like, you're my wife, you have to do what I say, or something. And he was trying to send me back to the bus stop where the bullies were, you know, so that whole story there. And but the point being is, I told him, oh yeah, well, I'll never marry you. So either or could be true. So, you know, because I told him I'd never married, so that gets just as true, right? And so I think it's fun to look at my story. It's like, I hate to compare it to anything as serious as biblical prophecy, but when we're talking about, you know, talking to otherworldly beings or learning from a state like this, we have to be real open-minded to the truth in it and the lack of truth in it just the same, right? So that's where, you know, so this is a real person, and, you know, a lot of the things connect that I learn about Billy, but there's also a few funny little jokes in there. So like the name Baldus van Vuren, we're gonna talk about that a little bit later. It comes up, but I'm kind of thinking that's not really his name, but I'm gonna tell you why it's a joke. So the beings I have seem to know the possibilities. Like if you do this, this, and this, you could get this. Like they could see the future, and they know everything about you. So that's what makes it intimidating. So like going into the subject matter of like the visionary state itself, the beings themselves. So like I'm going into visionary state and seeing Billy, and he's supposed to be my boyfriend, right? And this is all to trick me into contacting Bill Lee. Like it's taken like since 1982 to get this going, and then so there's a little bit of break there. But then like I've seen Billy again when my parents were friends with this couple named Bill and Stella. Now the thing is I'd say I was about 7 or 8 years old. And Billy showed me my future, like I went upstairs in their place, and it turned into like the neighbor who lived next door to Rosie's house. In 2010, I was outside swinging my nunchucks, and I was listening to that Armin van Buuren album, and Billy told me what was going on, and so that's another thing I brought up. So stuff like that, it's like pretty amazing, like how so it all kind of gets knitted into my memory somehow, and then later on it kind of becomes relevant, you know, like being outside with my nunchucks that day, and you know that evening I kind of had like a funky deja vu, and then I went over to my neighbor's house and stuff like that and just put it all together. So there's like things that string it all together, you know. So that's where if I need help, I need somebody to help me to articulate what's happening to me. It's very difficult to explain exactly what's happening to me, but so anyways, this is where Billy gets dotted in a couple times, and it seems to be like right around the time my parents had a really big fight, and one ended up jail, one ended up in the hospital, and it was a really tragic time for our little family system, So that's where I kind of wonder if some of these things are just kind of knitted in to help me cope or something, like, you know, letting me know, like, don't worry, you're going to live to be much older. You're going to end up being good at Shaolin, by the way, and here's the music you like too. And so let me see. So sure, let me see. Then, like I said, I'm thinking like 85, 86, we started listening to Bushido. That's what my dad wrote to them, because I was asking to go to karate classes and I was asking for a synthesizer, right? And he wrote to Bushido, and they wrote back and told us about Frontline Assembly. So that's the first time we physically heard of them. So this is what you got to understand, is the term Frontline Assembly was used in my visions back in 1982. So I think this is like, you know, premonition or a prophetic vision, you know, to some extent. And I can't really prove any of it. Like, I don't have any way to prove that I'm right. It's just, you know, off the top of my head, this is what I've experienced. So, you know, hopefully you just have faith that I'm honest about what I'm sharing, and I'm sharing it to the best of my memory, you know. And anyways, after that, I did see Billy again. I would say I was 11, like right at the end of 5th grade, and then the age 12 right at the beginning of 6th grade. I kind of got him confused with my little boyfriend named Juan Long, so that's another one of my stories about Billy. Is he came to me at Juan Long's, and you know, they look a little bit similar. That's the weird thing. I even thought about it when I was hanging out at Juan Long's, like that Billy used to live across the street. I think I even asked him, do you remember Billy that lived across the street? And I can't remember if he said he did or not, but then after that, seemed like, so Juan wanted me to be his practice girlfriend, but we didn't really get past like holding hands, you know? And so when Billy came over, he pulled me aside and told me, you know, he doesn't mind me hanging out with Juan, but he wanted to be the first person to do anything with me. So he did stuff like he showed me how to kiss and all that. And I remember feeling like really embarrassed, like if I would hate it if like my family found out and I was trying to run out the back door after we were done. And he said something like, you know, we're trying to get you in the music business and you can't tell anyone what we're doing. You need to be on your best behavior. I don't know what order he said those in, but it was just like weird stuff like that, you know, just all these weird little seeds, you know. So like, funny thing is I almost forgot about Billy. Like I really got sidetracked, and I was like listening to New Order all the time, right? And thinking, you know, I really wish I could find a boyfriend like Bernard Sumner, man. He just seemed like a lot like myself, you know. Funny thing is, they're actually about the same age too. Like they're only months apart, you know. So a lot of really important people were born in 1950, 1956 apparently, that are doing this kind of music, right? So so anyways, this is kind of how the seed was getting planted in that first period of my life. And then after that, like it seemed like we started listening to Frontline Assembly more, and we moved to a different neighborhood, and that's where Billy used to live with Rosie. So like every time I walked past that house, it did make me think of Billy. And so I used to kind of miss him, because I remember what he said about wanting to make music like my dad listens to. And I thought he said Frontline Assembly. I thought, well, that could be so I just didn't trust my memory. I just thought these were all coincidences, like, oh, you know, Bill's a pretty common name, you know, and stuff like that. And like, they can't be the same person, because I could tell Bill Lieb sounded like an older man. And even like when I was 18 and my dad handed me that magazine, and I was kind of seeing that connection, I thought, it's got to be Billy, but the wrong age and all this type of stuff. So like, now, I kind of remember when I was like 8 or so, me and my sister used to have to share the bed, and she was just, you know, having one of those girl kind of conversations, like, what kind of boys do you like? And I just thought, you know, I just really like this, like, find a tall guy with blonde spiky hair, you know, maybe somebody that likes music, somebody that, you know, we could travel around with and make music. And that was my idea of a cute guy. But in the back of my mind, I thought, but what about Billy? He had kind of curly hair, you know. So ironically, Bill Lieb is that tall guy with the blonde spiky hair, but he does have kind of curly hair too, you know. So I kind of think, in a ways, I've always liked guys like Billy. Like, he was like my ideal boyfriend. I remember in like first grade even, I was like 7 in first grade. There was this kid that sat in the row in front of me named Timmy, and he had that mixed blonde hair like Billy, but it was just like pinned straight, you know. And then there's this kid named Bronson that sat next to him, and like, so they caught me staring at Timmy. I couldn't stop looking at his hair because I liked it. It made me think of Billy's hair, and so they were trying to get back at me by staring at me when I come and sit down, and I was like upset. I was like, "Quit staring at me!" Ah. And it turned into a big ordeal. But that's because he reminded me of Billy, and I remember thinking a couple different times that I saw a guy or two that looked like Billy and thought I was kind of interested in them for that reason, but then I realized they're entirely different people, you know. But anyways, I remember like I guess after I'd seen Juan and Billy in that whole situation, like it was kind of a blur to me at the time, you know, like my sister was asking me, you know, who's the cutest boyfriend I ever had. And I'm pretty sure I told her Billy, you know. I think that maybe Juan was one of the cutest, but I think I like Billy better. And I can't remember if she could remember him as well or not, but like those are like memories of just sort of like how he fits in, you know, like I always thought Billy was the cutest boyfriend I had, so that's why I made up this little ditty. So, you know, I really needed to see Billy with his hair growing out and its natural color. Like, maybe he's got that kind of hair that changes color, but like, when I went to see Delirium in 2003, they played in Boulder, Colorado, and he let his hair grow out, and the back of it was really curly. And I just, I couldn't stop laughing to myself about how that's what I needed to see, like, just for more good, solid confirmation that this is the same person. I needed to see his curly cues, so I started thinking, who's that little curly Q? He's the cutest guy that I ever knew. And then, so a lot of people complain, you know, because I think I went through this spell where I just really wanted to talk about it a lot, and a lot of people are like, Jody, I really want you to stop talking about this, so that's why it goes, ooh, that curly Q, let me tell you about that curly Q, ooh, that, and then I'm talking about that curly Q. I don't know, so that's been my little joke, is that Bill Lieb is a curly Q. That's what I needed to see. Now, again, Billy is like, when I'm in the visionary state, so I'm not really sure exactly what we're communicating with. Like my earliest vision I can think of was the time me and my sister were walking past the old abandoned gas station, and there were these guys in robes, and they were telling me they were friends of Jesus. So like, you know, again, like, you know, you might go into visionary state or talk to beings, and they'll tell you they're Jesus and all this stuff. So that's where, like, you know, who am I talking to? They're saying, well, we're friends of Jesus and we want to help you. And the next thing I do is I end up meeting, you know, Rosie and Billy and Howard, and then like after I moved to Denver, get kind of tricked into contacting Bill Lieb, and so there was like a process of tricking me into contacting him, but then like it was like a painful experience. So that's where I was kind of trying to get everyone prepared, like, don't think, you know, I don't wanna like start any trouble, you know, I don't wanna say the wrong thing or whatever, but I just like really had a bad time, and I've had a lot of thoughts to share and all this build up, and so that's where, like, you know, one of the things I want to do is sort of release that old stuff and just kind of heal from it, and so that's where, like, this is like the yucky part, and then, but after that, you know, like, even after that went on, like, I kind of felt like there was a disconnect with me and Frontline Assembly, like, to the point where, like, I really don't care if I ever join their band or not, and I kind of even quit listening to them a lot too, but just like different things happened even later on that are kind of like, it got me to be interested in Bill Lieb. So I actually went to see him in 2006, 7, and 8, like 3 years in a row. In 2007, that's where I got that picture of me and him. Like, I felt like there was some reconciliation, and I got the chance to, you know, visit him just a little bit. And I made a point to go up and give him a hug, and it felt like a really good, genuine hug. Like, Bill Lieb seems to have a heart, you know? Like, there's a part of him that, I think he knew who I was and had probably read my letter and everything. And so that's where, like, if he gave me a big hug like that, after having read that letter, it's kind of a relief, like, you know, that he had that in the back of his mind, that I was the one that sent that letter, for example. that I'm going to describe later. So I wrote him a really long letter trying to explain this very story, you know? And so I think it's cool that, like, I've shared a lot of this stuff with him and he's never, like, said anything harsh about it. But, like, at the same time, I feel like, there's a lot to resolve for me. Like, I kind of want to make it, like, I don't know, like, I still haven't healed or whatever. I haven't found my resolve or whatever, like I've been saying. But, I feel like it's been a lesson in love, like how do you know you love someone or not? Like I felt like, you know, I was really like falling in love, but it was like a a false sense of love. It's kind of like okay, so I'm kind of simple. Like whether I like somebody or not depends on how they like me or not. Like when people like me, it makes me like them more. And when people treat me like they don't like me, it makes me like them less. So like, you know, that's sometimes how we pick out our pets too. Like, you know, you want the one that seems to like you the most, the one that comes to you. So we want to reciprocate things like this. I feel like, you know, Billy and my visions really love me. So I feel like maybe I want to reciprocate that. But it's a false sense of reciprocation if it's not really coming from Bill Lee, right? Like maybe he's just like, you know, I appreciate, you know, all the time you took to think of me, but so I know how that is. Like I know there are people that have had feelings for me that I could have had a relationship with or something like that, but I just can't reciprocate that. But I appreciate that, and I still want to be friends with some of those people, even, right? So, so you know, that's okay with me. I really don't mind that, but I just really don't like is it's kind of not being understood. I feel like what I'm reaching for now is just to be understood at least, you know. And I guess at the end of the day, my wish is that I do hope that like I could have a friendship or something. Like I don't know, like what the like you can't ask people to love you or be your friend. Like I can't say, hey, now you be my friend, you know. But like I've always hoped that I would make a good connection with Bill Lee and eventually say, you know, we are friends. I could officially say that we are friends, and say, you know, after all this time, because I feel like he's grown on me, kind of like I've been saying. I feel like he's imprinted on me in such a way it's like really hard to forget about him. So that's why I'm explaining how it just seems like all these little things have happened and make me remember him. And when somebody says, "Well, all you gotta do is forget about it," that's just it. It's like that's why there's another video I did called the Billy curse. You know, where there was a lady in a straitjacket in the nursing home where my grandma was staying, and she thought I was making fun of it, so she warned me I better not laugh or I might end up like that too. So that's where you know, maybe this is designed to drive me crazy so that, you know, you know, just like she warned me. So now I'm on the path to ending up just like that old woman, right? So, but after I met Bill a few times, it was just kind of like, it was kind of heartbreaking because then he just seemed like he was interested in being seen with the pretty model. You know, I just felt like this isn't, you know, the person I'd hoped for, you know. So when I was invited to come to Montana, I was ready to leave Denver because I was kind of sick of being around this music scene. And I feel like every time Bill Lieb comes to town, I'm tempted to go see him, but then I walk away, ended up kind of upset and disgusted because he keeps blowing me off for somebody that, I don't know, she just looks like a hooker or something, you know. And but at least the last time I seen him, so 2008 was the last time I seen him, and I said, you know, I wanted to give him a hug because I'm just like, you know what, for all we know, this could be the last time we see each other. So I hugged him, and it was a good hug, and you know, I think he's just a nice guy. You know, like I said, Bill's a nice guy, you know, and appreciate it because for all I know, that might have been it. So, anyways, I feel like to this day, you know, like I've been able to reflect on it a lot, you know, and that's why I was saying in my other video, like, you know, if this guy wanted to be my friend, we could, you know, be as good as friends as ever, you know. I've you know, he could be friends with me for the rest of his life. It just seems like it would make more sense that we would make friends than me and Rosie even. But at the end of the day, I feel like maybe I really lucked out on Rosie. She showed me how it is when you have a good friend, you know. And, you know, there are some things we cannot give. You know, maybe Bill Lee is not somebody who can give me that kind of friendship. Maybe he just doesn't have the kind of love that, you know, I need or whatever. Just doesn't have the love to give. You know, maybe he's spread very thinly or has other attachments and this type of thing, and so and that's understandable. But it's just like it's just a funny story, you know, like where I feel like, you know, so this has been put before me. So like this is something Falun Gong talks about, that Chinese religion or whatever, talks about how sometimes in your personal path, you'll have a desirable man put before you, or if you're a male, for example, maybe a desirable woman put before you, and it's sort of a test of the soul. So that's what I hate about my life, is I feel like I just can't, you know, what you call have your cake and eat it. Like I'm being shown this person on my life and kind of, you know, strung along and strung along, but at the end of the day, it's like, but you can't have it. You know, like this is not available to you, and there's a lot of reasons you don't qualify. So it's kind of a nightmare. But I like to find a way to turn it into a positive experience in the long run, so that it's not like I was saying, it seemed like it was like Bill Lee was being used against me to sort of break my spirit. And so what I've tried to do in reverse is sort of, I don't know, reach out to him and explain, well, this is what happened, this is kind of what started it. And like, I'm just saying, you know, I think when it comes to the industrial music community, there should be a lot of people that are open-minded to like spiritual activity or magic things and stuff like that. Like, I don't think I'm as far out as some people are. Like, you know, I'm not as bad as Genesis. Like, he had some pretty far out ideas about what's going on. But I feel like, you know, in my case, I feel like what's happening is real. It's just hard breaking it down. And, like, it's all up to me to find the best way to respond to it. And a lot of ways, maybe I failed. But it's not the end of the world, you know. So, like, anyways, I feel like I've been going through this weird process of falling in and out of love. And it's like, you know, that's why at the end of this, like, to this day, I say, you know, I think I love Bill, you know. And anyways, well, how do you know you love somebody if you don't know them? Well, that's what it's kind of a fun topic you hear in songs like, hello, I love you, won't you tell me your name? Is an old one, right? Doesn't even know her, already loves her, doesn't even know her name. And then there's like something like, this might sound crazy, but here's my number. There's a newer song, like a pop song with a chick, you know, this might sound crazy, but here's my number, you know, give me a call. So sometimes you meet people you don't know, and there's like a funky vibe. So that's why, you know, it's a fun subject to explore. You know, why do I think I love Bill? Is it a false sense of reciprocation, or is there actually real love there? Like, because you know, and then what do you do when you know, you think or sense you love somebody, but it's not being reciprocated? So for me, it's sort of a thing I've been hung up on for so many years. And you know, I've tried to sort of let it go and give other people, you know, find other opportunities, find other ways to stay busy. But it just sort of keeps coming back to me. And so that's why I kind of want to explain my story, and why it kind of comes back to me as an issue that I still have to finish and resolve. And so with that being said, absolutely open to the idea of actually having a friendship with this person. Like I said, it's really cool how, you know, he was brought into my life in a magical way and all that stuff. But again, more than likely, it'd be easy to have a friendship and all that stuff. But when you ask me the question, how do I feel about getting married? That's a really scary question for me, and that could be part of what I'm trying to resolve. Is it might not even be about me and him. It just might be an issue in general that I have, you know, because I'm still single and all that stuff, and I haven't had very many relationships in my life. And sometimes I feel sort of afraid that I'm going to end up alone for the rest of my life, and all this kind of stuff. So, like, it's sort of a personal issue at the same time. But it might be fun to resolve in such a way that it answers, you know, how do you know you love somebody? Well, anyways, I want to make some other videos explaining more about the details of like the unfoldment of like how it made me feel along the way, and stuff like that. Just some of the stuff that I've had to like realize like about myself in a sense. I feel like that's what this is doing for me. It sort of makes you look in the mirror, and it makes me ask myself, how do I feel about marriage? Why do I think this or that, and stuff like that. And so somehow, you know, my old friend Billy gets thrown into the picture. Maybe he was just a good matchup for the job, you know, like Because I keep thinking, well, what if we never make friends and this never goes anywhere? Then what was the purpose of this? Well, I've been saying he almost seems it's been so hard to find somebody like my dad, you know, with his music collection and everything. And you know, there could be certain parallels and things that I need to learn from it. But then there's also past lives, and you know, I almost wonder if my dad and Bill Lieb have been in the Nazi wars and stuff like that. So it's just kind of fun to explore the matters of the soul, and that's kind of what this visionary stuff is about. So I haven't had the visions in a long time, but I'm just thinking I might end up having more visions later in the future. So I kind of want to like clear up some of these old ones, you know, and but I absolutely think, you know, I would consider myself to be a friend for Bill. Like I offered up, like if he was anything like Rosie, like yeah, he could hang out with me all the time. I would love to totally hang out with him and jam out and you know, share like I don't know, just be cool to hang out with somebody that listens to good music. He'd probably have like my fantasy is, you know, having a friend like Bill Lieb, and you go around them and they're always listening to different music, and that's how you find good music, is having friends like him, and vice versa. Like I feel like I listen to good techno, and I just wish there was somebody there to be excited about it with me. So anyways, maybe I should do another video or two explaining sort of like the unveilment of my feelings and sort of my attitude towards a lot of aspects of this story. So anyways, you guys, happy New Year. And maybe the next few days I'll be able to continue this conversation. So big hugs to all my friends. And if Bill Lieb ever pays any attention, I hope that he's having a great New Year's, and you know, probably having going to all the best parties and stuff like that. I think Bill went to New York City, so I think that sounds pretty exciting. Anyways, definitely someone I hope to meet again. So you guys have a good night and a happy New Year.